What if the love you thought was lost forever suddenly returned? Without warning, without explanation, in the quiet rhythm of Heartland, a storm is about to hit. Not one of wind or rain, but of memories, choices, and the raw truth of the heart. Season 19 begins not with calm, but with the impossible. Ty Borden is back. Life at Heartland has started to find a quiet pace again. Amy Fleming, though still carrying the weight of Ty's memory, has settled into a kind of peaceful routine. Lindy is growing fast, her laugh echoing through the barn and fields just like her father's once did. The ranch is steady, the family closer than ever. And Amy, she's functioning, maybe not healing fully, but moving. That's something, at least. Nathan is gone now, kindly, respectfully, but gone. Their relationship ended not with bitterness, but with the heavy silence of truth. Amy wasn't ready. Her heart had made no room for anyone else. She had tried, for Lindy, for herself, for the illusion that time could fix what loss had broken. But the truth had always hung around her neck, literally, Ty's engagement ring still close to her heart. So when the knock came at the ranch house door that early spring morning, Amy wasn't expecting her world to tilt off its axis. Jack had already gone to town. Lou was on the phone inside. Amy opened it casually, with no warning from the wind or the birds or the rhythm of the day. Just a knock, just a door. And then, Ty. He stood there, worn and older, but unmistakably him. The same eyes that saw her for who she really was, the same posture, the same silence. He didn't speak right away. Neither did she. The ring around her neck seemed to weigh more suddenly, as if it knew. Ty wasn't supposed to be alive. The world had mourned him. His family had grieved. A tragic accident, they'd said. Complications. There had been a funeral, a service, the long ache of acceptance, and yet, here he was, breathing, alive, and looking at her like no time had passed, even though years stood between them. Amy's mind raced. Was this real? Was she hallucinating? Had grief finally fractured her reality? But Lindy ran to the door before Amy could speak, saw him, and froze too. Then Ty knelt, tears forming as he whispered her name. Lindy? It wasn't a dream. That first reunion was filled with silence and stares more than words. Ty explained only what he could. He had been gone, not by choice. There were things he still couldn't say. Things too dangerous, too tangled in the reason he'd vanished. The truth was more complicated than anyone could have imagined. There had been threats, a need to protect his family, a decision made in a desperate moment that led to years of absence. Amy listened, not just with her ears, but with her whole being, her heart, her skin, her soul. Ty was alive, and yet the pain didn't vanish with his return. It shifted, it deepened, it got louder. Where had he been during the birthdays, the tears, the milestones? Why hadn't he found a way back sooner? Why now? And more frightening than any of that, was she ready to let him back in? As news of Ty's return spread across the family, reactions varied. Jack, ever the protector, demanded answers. Lou cried. Tim was furious. Georgie, visiting from college, couldn't hide her shock. Everyone felt the earthquake, but no one felt it more than Amy, because this wasn't just about Ty coming back. This was about everything his return brought with it. Hope, confusion, heartbreak, and the terrifying possibility of love again. The episode ends with Amy standing alone in the barn, the ring still around her neck, Ty watching from the doorway. Nothing is resolved, nothing is clear, but one truth sits heavy in the air. Love never truly dies. It waits. Ty's return is more than just a shock. It's a tremor that stirs every buried emotion Amy thought she'd locked away. For days, she struggles to understand what his presence means, and more importantly, what it doesn't. He's alive, yes. But is he still hers? Is she still his? Time doesn't pause, even for miracles. At first, their conversations are hesitant, filled with gaps, unfinished sentences, and long silences that speak louder than words. Ty tells her only fragments of where he's been, citing danger, necessity, and a vow to protect. He hints at people who wanted him gone, at threats that made staying impossible. But the story feels incomplete. Amy senses there's more, something he's still not saying, and that unknown weighs heavily on her. She finds herself constantly watching him, trying to reconnect the man before her with the one she lost. He's changed. Quieter, more cautious, always looking over his shoulder. There's a tension in him, a distance that wasn't there before. He touches Lindy's toys gently, like he's afraid to break them. He stands by the paddocks and watches the horses, but doesn't step into the barns right away. It's as if he's relearning everything. Heartland, the family, Amy, even himself. Amy tries to act normal, for Lindy's sake, for the family's sake. But inside, she's anything but. She thought she wanted this. She used to dream of Ty coming back, but now that he has, she's overwhelmed by everything she never got to say, and all the things she doesn't know how to ask. Late one night, unable to sleep, Amy walks into the barn and finds Ty there, brushing Spartan. The way his hand moves through the horse's mane. It's muscle memory. Familiar. She watches him for a long moment before finally speaking. "Why didn't you try to send a letter? A message? Anything?" Ty pauses, shoulders tense. "Because if I had, they would have found you too." It's the first real piece of clarity she's been given, but it only raises more questions. Who are they? Why now? What changed? Ty doesn't explain further. He simply says, "It wasn't safe before. It is now." But the fear in his eyes tells Amy that whatever he's been through, it's far from over. As the days pass, Amy begins to feel caught between the past and the present. Her life has moved on without Ty in it. She's raised a daughter, buried grief, built new walls to protect herself. But now, with Ty back, those walls begin to crack, and the life she built starts to feel unfamiliar. She questions everything. Even Lindy, as young as she is, senses the emotional pull between her parents. She's excited, hopeful, but confused. One night she asks Amy, "Is Daddy staying forever this time?" And Amy, caught off guard, doesn't have the heart to lie. She hugs her daughter close and whispers, "I hope so." But hope doesn't feel like enough anymore. Meanwhile, tension builds quietly within the family. Jack struggles with trust. His instinct is to protect Amy and Lindy. He wants to believe in Ty again, but trust broken is hard to glue back together. Lou wants answers. She digs, quietly, asking questions, trying to piece together what happened. She even reaches out to old contacts, trying to uncover the truth behind Ty's disappearance. Georgie, more emotionally distant than the others, watches with skepticism. She loves Ty like a brother, but she remembers how broken Amy was when he died. She doesn't want to see her aunt fall apart all over again, if Ty's presence only brings more uncertainty. In the midst of all this, Amy keeps wearing the ring. Some part of her still believes in the love they shared. But she also knows love isn't always enough, not when it's been wrapped in silence and shadow for this long. One afternoon, Amy takes a trail ride alone, the wind in her hair and the silence of the land her only company. She ends up at the lake where she and Ty had once spent long summer days together. She gets off the horse, sits at the edge of the water, and lets the tears fall. She's not crying because he's back. She's crying because she doesn't know what to do now that he is. The episode closes with a quiet moment between them. Ty approaches her at the lake, sits beside her without speaking. For a while, they just listen to the water. Then he says softly, "I never stopped loving you." Amy turns her head toward him, her voice trembling. "Then why does this hurt so much?" The question lingers in the air, unanswered. Because love, real love, doesn't erase the pain. It holds it, right alongside the hope. Days pass, but the emotional storm doesn't. Ty is back, physically present, but emotionally, he's still distant. Amy senses it every time their eyes meet and he quickly looks away. There's love in his voice, yes, but also something else. Fear. Regret. Maybe even shame. It's like he's carrying something heavy and dangerous. Something he refuses to lay down. The rest of the family tiptoes around it, afraid to push too hard. Jack, though quiet, has that look in his eyes, the one he gets when his gut tells him something's off. Lou's tension is more visible. She's constantly watching, always asking questions under the surface of her casual conversations. Even Katie picks up on the unease. sensing that this man who once felt like a part of their story now feels like a stranger with a secret. And Amy, she's caught in the middle, caught between a love that defined her and a silence that's threatening to destroy everything they once had. She wants to believe him. She does believe him. But there's a voice inside her, quiet but persistent, whispering, "What aren't you telling me, Ty?" That question becomes impossible to ignore when a black SUV pulls up outside the ranch late one evening. A man steps out, middle-aged, well-dressed, calm but watchful. He asks for Ty by name. Jack answers the door, his hands still dirty from fence work, and doesn't hide his suspicion. "Who's asking?" The man identifies himself as Agent Clay from a government agency, undisclosed. Not RCMP, not local, something deeper. He says he needs to speak to Ty urgently and alone. Ty steps out without hesitation. He doesn't argue, doesn't explain, just walks toward the man and gets into the SUV. Amy watches from the window, her heart pounding. The vehicle disappears down the road, leaving only dust behind. Ty is gone for hours. When he returns, he says nothing. No one asks. But Amy doesn't sleep that night. And in the morning, she confronts him in the barn, where she finds him saddling a horse like nothing happened. "What was that about?" she asks. Ty pauses but doesn't meet her eyes. "Just something I had to deal with." "That's not an answer," she snaps, the calm mask cracking. "If you're back in our lives, you have to let us in, Ty. You can't disappear again. Not emotionally, not physically, not now." Ty finally looks at her. His eyes are tired, older, but there's something else there too. Guilt. "I made choices, Amy. Bad ones. To protect you, to protect Lindy. I thought disappearing was the only way to keep you safe. I can't undo that. I wish I could, but there are things I did while I was gone. Things I saw. I don't know if you'll ever look at me the same way again." Amy's voice shakes. "Try me." He opens his mouth, closes it, and walks away. The space between them grows again. Meanwhile, rumors start to ripple through Hudson. People have seen Ty. Some believe it's a ghost. Others are convinced he faked his death for selfish reasons. The town buzzes with theories, half-truths, and cruel gossip. Amy can't step into Maggie's diner without hearing whispers. Lou does damage control, but it's like trying to stop a flood with a paper towel. The media catches wind. A small blog publishes an article. Ty Borden alive? Heartland Ranch holds its breath. Amy slams the laptop shut when she sees it. It's only a matter of time before someone starts digging deeper, before the truth, whatever it is, gets dragged into the open. And then it happens. Amy receives an envelope in the mailbox. No return address. Inside, photos, grainy, secretive, of Ty in a different city, with people she doesn't recognize. One photo shows him in what looks like a hospital. Another, stepping out of a building marked with symbols she doesn't understand. On the back of one photo, a single sentence. "Do you really know where he's been?" Amy stares at it, her hands trembling. Trust, once broken, is hard to rebuild. And now, her mind is racing with possibilities. Who sent these? Why? And what is Ty hiding that someone else is desperate for her to find out? She doesn't show Ty the photos. Not yet. Instead, she tucks them away, her heart heavy with doubt. But from that moment on, the quiet between them isn't just painful, it's dangerous. Amy starts doing her own digging. She searches for the building in the photo, traces symbols, contacts people discreetly. Her instincts, sharpened from years of running Heartland and raising a daughter alone, are now on high alert. Because if someone's trying to scare her, it's working. The episode ends with a chilling moment. Late at night, Ty is outside fixing a broken fence. Amy watches him from the porch, holding the photos in her hand. Behind her, Lindy's soft breathing fills the silence. Inside the barn, a shadow moves, quick, unnoticed. Watching, and the message is clear. Ty's return was never just about love. It was about survival. The air at Heartland has shifted. What was once hope is now tension, wrapped in silence and suspicion. Amy moves through her days with a weight in her chest, a quiet storm of doubt and love battling inside her. Ty is trying. He spends more time with Lindy, more time fixing things around the ranch, more time trying to reclaim a life that has moved on without him. But Amy can't shake the feeling that the man who came back isn't the same one who left. Because the truth is, he's not. Amy finally opens up to Lou. She shows her the envelope, the photos, the message. Lou goes pale, her instincts kicking in fast. "You need to tell him," she says. But Amy shakes her head. "Not yet. Not until I know what I'm looking at." Together, they quietly investigate, piecing together clues. One photo shows Ty stepping out of a nondescript building with tinted windows. Lou does some digging and finds a match. It's a facility connected to a private medical research company, one that's worked with government agencies in the past. The building's location? Vancouver. 2 years ago. Amy feels like the floor beneath her is tilting. If Ty was in Vancouver 2 years ago, why didn't he come back then? Why now? Meanwhile, the man who delivered the first warning isn't done. Another envelope appears, this time with no photos, only a short note. "You think he left to protect you? Ask him who he really protected." The words hit Amy like a punch. She reads it again and again, her stomach twisting. There's someone else in this story, someone connected to Ty's disappearance. And suddenly, Amy realizes she's been so focused on the how and where, she never asked who. Later that night, she finds Ty in the barn again, fixing a broken stall door. The horses are restless, sensing the unease in the air. Amy walks in, the note clutched in her hand. But again, she can't bring herself to show it. Instead, she asks quietly, "Is there anyone else I should know about? Anyone who was part of whatever you went through?" Ty freezes. The wrench in his hand stops moving. For a moment, the only sound is the wind through the beams. "There were people," he says slowly. "But none of them matter now." Amy steps closer. "That's not an answer, Ty." He finally turns to face her, and for the first time, she sees something crack behind his eyes. "There was a girl," he says quietly. "She was just a kid. Her family got pulled into something they didn't ask for. I helped them. I stayed to make sure they were safe." Amy's heart drops. "You stayed for them? While I was here, raising our daughter, bearing your memory, you were protecting someone else's family?" "It's not what you think," Ty says, his voice rising, desperate. "It was complicated. I thought I'd be gone for months, maybe a year. But the deeper I got in, the more dangerous it became. Coming back would have put all of you at risk. I didn't have a choice." "But you did, Ty," Amy snaps. "You always had a choice, and you chose to stay away." The barn feels colder now. Even the horses fall silent. Amy's voice breaks as she continues. "Do you know what it was like to explain to Lindy that her father was never coming home? Do you know how long it took before she stopped asking about you every night?" Ty steps forward, his voice barely a whisper. "I missed everything. I know. I hate myself for it every single day." Amy's eyes fill with tears, but they don't fall. She's done crying. For now. Instead, she turns and walks out, leaving Ty standing alone in the half-light of the barn. Outside, Jack waits on the porch, watching it all unfold. He doesn't speak as Amy walks past him, but there's understanding in his eyes. He knows the pain of betrayal. He knows what it's like to love someone who makes the wrong choices. The next morning, a new threat arrives. The family wakes to find the barn doors open, horses spooked, one of them injured. A clear message, not from an animal, but from someone who wanted to send fear. Lou calls the police, but Amy already knows what this is. Someone is watching them, someone who doesn't want Ty here, someone who thinks scaring the family will force him to leave, and maybe it's working. Ty starts talking about leaving. Not forever, he says, just until things calm down, just until he figures out what's going on. But Amy cuts him off. "You don't get to run again." He looks stunned. "You don't get to decide when you show up and when you disappear. You're either in this family, Ty, or you're not, because Lindy's heart doesn't have a reset button." And for the first time, Ty doesn't argue. He just nods. Quietly, slowly. The guilt is crushing him, and Amy sees it. But she also sees something else. Fear. Not of her, not of facing the past, but of what's coming next. Because whatever Ty was involved in, it's not over. And Heartland may not be safe much longer. The rhythm of life at Heartland feels unfamiliar now. Offbeat. Like the land itself knows something isn't right. The horses are anxious. The family walks on eggshells. And Amy has stopped pretending. She's no longer caught between denial and hope. She's standing in the eye of the storm now, facing it head on. Ty remains at the ranch, despite the danger, despite the fear. He sleeps on edge, keeps a watchful eye on the road, and speaks only when necessary. The once warm, carefree man Amy fell in love with now wakes in the middle of the night to check locks and scan shadows. He's not afraid for himself, he's afraid for them. Meanwhile, Amy holds the second note, the one that questioned who Ty was really protecting, like it's a lit match. She hasn't told him about it. Not yet. She's waiting. Watching. And more than anything, she wants the truth from him, not from a stranger hiding in the dark. But that truth is coming, whether they're ready for it or not. One morning, while helping Lindy get ready for school, Amy finds something in Lindy's backpack, a small piece of folded paper. At first, she thinks it's a drawing, but it's a note, a warning. You're being watched. He's still lying. Amy's hands shake. This isn't random. Someone got close enough to leave a message for her child. This isn't just about Ty anymore. This is about family, safety, survival. She calls Lou immediately, and within hours, the entire family gathers at the house. Jack, Lou, Tim, even Peter. They sit around the kitchen table, faces tight with fear and anger. No more pretending, no more avoiding. It's time for answers. Amy pulls out the notes, the photos, lays them all on the table in front of Ty. I need to know everything, she says, voice firm. No more protecting us with lies. That ends today.